Techland has shared some absolutely insane update on Dying Light 2 and today we're going to talk about it. So yesterday on July 10th, Timon McTalla, the franchise director of Dying Light 2, did an AMA on Reddit. Basically during the AMA he answered all sorts of questions the community has for him. Also please ignore my voice a bit since I have cold and it's really hard for me to speak, but hey, I still need to keep you guys updated with everything Dying Light 2. Also if you want to win a copy of Dying Light 2 PC, then make sure to join my Discord server as we are doing a giveaway that will end in 2 days, which means you need to join as soon as possible. Now without wasting any more time, let's get into the video. So the first question Timon was asked was regarding the E3 viral grab. Do you guys remember this E3 animation?
Infection progresses. Our biomarker is turning red.
So the question was, will the viral grabbing you while climbing shown in the E3 trailer going to make a return? To which Timon replied saying, we had this prototyped but it was so frustrating. It's a cool demo scene, but when you try to run and suddenly you're stopped without any control over it, it's a cool moment once but not when it's a part of the system. We wanted to bring it back to Good Night Good Luck update but skipped that for the reason above. Next, when can we expect a new harder difficulty for the game? Until the end of the year? Also, wouldn't it be better if there was a custom difficulty so you can change your own settings and make the game as hard as you want it to be? Changing variables like the density of zombie spawns, how fast you want your enemies to be, how tanky, how much damage you want them to deal, etc. To which Timon replied saying, that's interesting, perhaps there's still some wiggle room for us for the second half of the year and something connected to difficult modes is considered. I don't want to commit saying it will be something ultra hard or something closer to what you have described, make your own difficulty thing, but actually the latter option is very doable. We just need to expose some of the levers and switches we already have under the hood. So you heard what Timon said, but let me pop the bubble here. Now you won't believe me, but the modders have actually found proof of different difficulties in the game files, which means in the future we're going to get very hard, nightmare, and finally a deadly difficulty mode. Yes, it's all in the game files under the file name progression actions. Next, when are we getting a new roadmap for Dying Light 2? Timon said after the summer holidays, the vacation time will be spent on cool events and crossovers. Next, will there be updates / quality of life improvements for Dying Light 2 even with the DLC 2 being delayed? To which Timon replied saying, yes, we're already combining a list of improvements for the next community update. Next, question about graphics. Any plan to improve the graphics of the game in the future? Like lighting and the game textures are not looking good? To which Timon replied saying, we're slowly improving some bits here and there, but don't expect something groundbreaking in the foreseeable future. We're thinking about one big push in that area, but I would say it will not happen this year. Next, will Elysium make a comeback? Will execution be a feature in future? Will chapter 3 ever happen? Timon replied saying, difficult one for the Elysium question, then for the execution feature, Timon said, maybe, who knows, I would love to, even if the format will be different. But unfortunately for chapter 3 he did not say anything. Next, any plans on cross-gen progress? Example, using my PS4 save on PS5 because right now I can't use it and I had to make a new save. Timon replied saying, it's surprisingly complex but we would have some good news for you in not so distant future. Next, FOV slider on old generation consoles? Timon said, I don't know, we could technically do that but it's a question of performance. There is a minimal chance that it will break how fluid the game is. By the way, to be honest with you guys, he's actually right about that. The more FOV, the more stuff would load at a time in your screen, meaning it will put too much pressure on your system leading to lags or crash. Next, what I'm curious to know is that will nightmare volatiles make a return or possible a resurgence of something more dark and dangerous? Timon replied saying, the blue beast possible will let you settle on the current difficulty of the night for some time before ramping up the difficulty. Next question, hello, since the release of the game the PS5 DualShock is not working, no vibration on the controller, any plan to fix it? The last update on this was on September 2022. Timon replied saying, it's on my personal shame list. Apologies for that, I'm pushing for this to be fixed in the next update. Next, are there any plans on updating the map? For example, Dark Hollows and Forsaken Stores all feel a bit too similar. Timon replied saying, yes, the plans are there. Again, don't want to commit to any schedule, but 100% sure it will happen until we all turn old and grey. Next, do you plan on adding any more big content post DLC 2 such as the third story DLC, overhauls, map expansions, etc.? Timon replied saying, it depends on demand. There are tons of ideas, but it all depends on you folks on what you want. Next, is there a chance we get a few touches on the combat AI? The AI of human enemies isn't always very good and it can make it a bit unsatisfactory. Timon said, yes, I'm aware. I think it's one of the upcoming updates. We'll do a bigger push to take our AIs, mostly human, to a higher level both in single player and in co-op. So yeah, thank God it's finally being fixed. Next, for the custom maps on consoles, it's a matter of weeks or months. Timon said, definitely not week, month may also not be enough, but we're pushing very hard to make it available as soon as it's technically possible. Keep your fingers crossed. Next, good night, good luck, parkour update was a success. Are to expect any gameplay changes to parkour, combat, or another system? Demon said, I think we'll leave the combat, parkour, and night to stay as they are for some time. Just polish them more with the smaller improvements. Next, will we ever get a weapon repair system as well as a dynamic weather and skybox update? Demon said, weapon repair is a topic of hot debate in our office. So much of Dying Light looting loop is built around constantly looking for new weapons, and there is a fear that it will break the loop significantly. But the Let's Do faction here slowly gains in numbers, so who knows. Also for the dynamic weather, yes, we have that on our list, and I think we'll start with the smaller changes. Example, make rain weathers more visible, more frequent, and if that's not enough, we'll do bigger pulse on these systems. Next, how about different weapon attacks animation and strike combos? Demon said we did some updates in that regard, and I think we'll be looking at our animation again soon, maybe adding some variants here and there. Next, any more details for how the map of the DLC 2 is going to be? Based on some of the concept art you guys shared, it seems there is a lot of nature to explore. Does this mean that the cities or in the other worlds will parkour take a backseat in DLC 2? Like for example, how the following DLC for Dying Light 1 had a lot of driving instead of parkour. Demon said, can't reveal much, it will be different when it comes to traversal and atmosphere. And if I were to say more, someone would have probably shot me. Next, why do you guys frequently patch duplication glitches? Demon said, that's a good question and one that developers ask themselves constantly. The thing is that duplication glitch usually breaks the looting, exploration, progress loops in games, and that's not something that you want to do as a designer. On the other hand, you're right, why not give people what they want? I don't have a final definitive answer right now. We're doing this to keep the game as it was intended to be, which seems like a good approach. Next, hello, is it because of the engine limitation that none of your games support HDR? It's a shame, especially for Dying Light, because the night gameplay could have been better with it. And yeah, auto HDR is kinda meh, honestly. Could you elaborate maybe please if it is planned in the future or why not? Plus, have you considered adding path tracing and VR support? Those would be cool for immersion as well, thanks. Demon replied to this question saying VR sounds great on paper, but then when you start running, it's a nausea inducing. But we're thinking about some VR, but I think it will be a separate experience. Also for the HDR, we investigate our options and we understand it can't stay like this forever. Next and the final question, will we be able to romance characters in the story later down the line, or is it something that hasn't been looked into? Demon replies saying, wasn't really your focus to know, did I break your heart? So guys, that's all the questions asked during the AMA. Now, I did leave some of them behind as they were repeated questions and some of them were already answered almost a month ago. But still, if you want to read through all of the AMA yourself, then I will have a link in the description for that thread. And yeah guys, I'm gonna go get some rest now and I'll see you guys very soon. Till then, stay safe and stay human.